Time is speeding up. Chaos is shifting into a new level, and we feel the pull to unlock the mysteries of the universe. Timeless spiritual wisdom offers the point of stability to navigate these times and to open our greatest potential. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the fun and knowledge of visionary best-selling authors Sri and Kira as they explore these mysteries and invite your higher love to come forward. And now, here are Sri and Kira.
Namaste and welcome to Explore the Mysteries. I am wisdom teacher Sri Ram.
And I am Master Lady Kira Raa.
And today we are exploring that the self-sabotage moment is indeed at hand, and that our world needs more consciousness to walk through this. So thank you for joining us for this dynamic exploration.
Well, talk about exploring a mystery. The mystery of self-sabotage is deep, and it has a great depth to it. Because it is sly, it is sophisticated, and you know what? Rather than give you any words for it, we're just gonna kick this right off. It was on November 23rd. So on November 23rd, the Master Lady Kira Raa, I don't even know how to explain that. Maybe you can, Sri, called forward this very powerful message. And as we have been witnessing what's happening on the planet right now, and as we are coming forward into the 21st of December, what many are unaware of is that the actual peak moment, the energy is literally right now. It is December 14. But way back when, in February 2020, we put out the first of a 2-year series of up-level calendars. These calendars are important to hold on to because they will be a permanent experience, a record, a visual record of how we are getting to where we are now. Where are we now? Well, we're in the greater mystery of spiral time, and we're going to talk more about that as we get closer to January. But for this show, for this moment, we are walking into December 14. December 14, 2020 is a solar eclipse moment inside of a new moon, and it is the third of 3 peak level dates for 2020. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to sriandkira.com, and right there on the homepage, you have to scroll. It'll say, hey, get the 2020 up level calendar here. And even though we are in December 2020, and remember the 2021 is going to be coming out very soon, you want this calendar. You want to go back and look at what happened. You want to anchor into the energy of 2020 because the energy of 2020 was the first of 2 moments of up-level activity. And there's been up-level moments every month. Some months have had 2. What's unique about December 14 is that it is one of only 3 times this past year that we have hit what I call a collision peak. And what's so profound about that collision peak is that it's happening exactly 7 days before the 12/21 anticipated moment. And with all of the press and fanfare and media and whatever around the 12/21 moment, around all of the absolute experience of a new age of experience, a new age of being, what many have forgotten, and the intentionality of the forgetting, especially among those who are seeking a higher level of consciousness, is that it's right now. It's this 7-day period of the 14th through the 21st, and this solar eclipse, heavy masculine eclipse energy that offers the feminine the opportunity to blend, right? Imagine a solar disk, a solar ring, as this masculine energy that's normally sending out this radiation that is saying in this one moment, I'm going to step back and let the feminine energy come with me. And then we're going to start moving toward what many call the Christmas star that will appear on 12/21. That star has appeared at great moments of shift. And this week, this remaining blink of an eye, this 7-day period is a call. And I'm losing my breath talking about it. It's a clarion call. It's a radiation from the universe saying, we need more of you to stay the ground between now and next Monday.
Yeah.
Because next Monday, everything is entering a new age. And that means the all will all be equally filled with expansion. So let us get rid of the self-sabotage and get ready to go to work.
Wow.
Because that's what that's about.
It is. And to kind of bring this to a personal level, how many of you have had opportunities in your life that you kind of blundered them up somehow?
Right.
It could be that you met that perhaps perfect partner, and somehow or other all the unhealed stuff in you comes up, or in the other person comes up, and the relationship has a collision. Or maybe it's that wonderful career opportunity, and we go in and we're just not able to find our power as we're discussing the opportunity that is so close to our hearts. This is what we're referring to about examples of self-sabotage. And the theme here is that when we are faced with or being presented with that which is truly an up level, an opportunity to come more closely into the beauty that you were destined to be, there's a part of us that kind of goes, I don't know.
Well, this brings us to the insoulment.
Exactly.
So we're going to read this insoulment that came through. And do we need to explain what insoulment is or what happened here, you think?
Well, I think
for those of you that may not be familiar.
In the simplest sense, an insoulment is a divine dispensation, a wisdom that comes from the angelic realms through Kira Raa when she relaxes and her ego just simply steps aside and this flow comes forward. And the flow that comes forward, the messages that come forward are always loving and from a perspective of divine wisdom. And we want to share that with you.
Thank you. And Shri and I have been doing this now publicly. We'll be going into our 19th year in January. And what's so profound is that the ones that we feel were preceded, literally in every way, both pre with a C and pre with an S, seated, those insoulments are the ones that we have been literally unpacking the keys of ascension every Monday night. If this topic interests you, if you are here because you are curious, then we really encourage you, drop into our community night, Monday night. It is basically our ascension study, right? It's the study group for the people that are like, yeah, I really want to know more about this. I'm very fascinated or curious, or I'm having lots of things happening in my life I don't even understand. I don't know what's going on around me. I would love to be with people that maybe do. That is what Monday night is all about. So it's called Monday Magic. And right now we are culminating the Galactic Encyclopedia. What has been coming out has been not only prophetic in nature, which at the time these were originally seeded into the consciousness of this planet, which was 2006. We ourselves didn't realize how prophetic they were because they were ready to be decoded should we reach this moment in time in 2020, and wow, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. One thing that I know for sure is truth, and truth is timeless.
And you know that too.
Truth is timeless. And so even though we refer to dates here and there, the truth of what is being shared is applicable to you whenever you tune in.
Exactly.
Because now it's your time. So time is very subjective to where you are on your path. And so these, from the collective standpoint, the ensoulments that Kira Raa and I have brought through years ago seem to be very timely right now. The way the cycles have unfolded, they're robust with information that can be comprehended now.
And, I really believe that the reason that they had to be kind of placed into the permanent record of this time zone back in 2006 was so that the validity of these messages could not be disputed. And even Shri and I mean, as we are unlocking the keys that have been coming out of all of these ensoulments through our Monday Magic series, where we release the new versions of everything that's been there, and it's the same ensoulment, just with the unlocking of the keys. Unlocking the keys does take a shift in the way you perceive things. It does take an amplification of consciousness. However, we are at that moment where that amplification of consciousness is readily available for those who are willing to say yes. And this brings us right back to the self-sabotage. So let's bring our hands to our heart.
Yes. So as Kira shares this information and wisdom that has come through, it feels very appropriate that we all together receive it at this time. And any time that you're receiving a message that is not of the ego, this is the message of spirit, it's important that we put ourselves, meaning embrace our own hearts, put ourselves in a space of receptivity to allow ourselves to get the full benefit of what's being shared. And then, of course, you can decide how to respond to it after you've received it.
And so we're going to go ahead and share this with you. And again, I want you to just give yourself that gift of receiving. I want to remind you all that this insoulment was first received on November 23rd, 2020. And so we did, I think we put it out then on Sri and Kira, but we never really expanded it. Mm-hmm. The self-sabotage moment at hand. When faced with the vastness of your true nature, the energy of the ego will at first be entranced, and then will face a virtually immediate choice point. To say yes to the vastness and dive with open eyes and brilliant joy into the ocean of creation. Or to say yes to the safety and the familiarity of density. To dive with open eyes and brilliant joy into the ocean of densified experience with the peace of letting go. Peace is the moment where we begin. The moment that the first chakra stops seeking any other and calls forward the blessing of being. This is the moment at hand and the moment where it all begins again. Peace is elusive to the ego, as the ego thrives on chaos and drama. The addictive nature of the brain that exists within the all is a safety net to the expansion of energy. Addiction is what returns us to the experience with ever-evolving refinement of our expansive nature. Through addiction, we awaken. This is why the addiction to our ego or our densified beliefs is literally the core addiction for all. When we walk through the moment of chaos is when we often call out for greater peace. It is then that we make the instantaneous choice of the yes being called forward. Self-sabotage is the energy that does not trust peace. Breathe that in. Self-sabotage is the energy that does not trust peace. It is the energy that has been so wounded, so hurt, so abused, so scared, so frightened, so beyond afraid that it is stronger than the yes to true peace. Thereby, peace becomes elusive and the repetitive cycle is assured. Chaos, drama, peace, distrust. Chaos, drama, peace, conscious choice, replacing the distrust. Awakening to see the cycle outside of any blame of anything offers you the moment within the moment of the peace cycle to consciously make your choice, to know what you are saying yes to, and possibly for the very first time, understanding and knowing true peace. Together we are better, and as we hold the invited torch for the all. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you for that sharing.
I need to breathe because in delivering that sharing just now, I'm feeling the energy of that sharing. And in the energy of that sharing, what I'm noticing is that my consciousness has expanded so infinitely that many of you, are you hearing the high-pitched tone? It's way in the background, right? Yeah. Way, way, way in the background. When we come together and simply open our heart, the way that you held it for everyone, that's part of the expansion of consciousness. It doesn't matter what the words are really saying. What matters is the energy they are being conveyed with. And this is how you always know truth from falsehood. It's that moment right now. So that's why I wanted to call our attention there.
Yeah. Your ascended heart is the truth detector.
Always. Always.
And so often people are trained to use their brains to determine truth. Well, the brain is infinitely creative and can find multiple versions of truth and corollaries and exceptions and all kinds of diverse ways of looking at things, whereas the heart simply knows. And when we begin to trust that information that the heart resonates, which is a sense of peace, because truth always expands love.
Right.
If it's truth versus a little small t truth, meaning a seasonal truth or a variable truth, always expands doubt, wondering what's next and did I look more deeply and is there something more? So it's an interesting dynamic that we get to dance with as we grow up, meaning grow and evolve. So, Kira, there's a lot in this insoulment.
Yeah, there is.
And what I'd like to do is kind of go back and touch into some of the sharings here that are really potent and important for this time.
Well, that makes good sense because it does feel like the insoulment was kind of like a step-by-step.
Yeah.
Saying, okay, here are, and what I find really beautiful is it's a trinity. There's like 3 specific energies that were woven through this. And so, freshen your tea. Let's dive into this because this moment at hand, I just want to reiterate, December 14 through December 21, if you are catching this during that week, this is a moment where the call to your consciousness is strong. We are in a solar eclipse peak up level experience literally right now, starting right now as you are watching the show. If you're watching the show as it came out in its first moment right here on Sunday, December 13, it's right now. We're already in the energy of that new moon. And that new moon is colliding with a solar eclipse for this peak up level moment that is actually overshadowing the 1221 energy for those that are awake to it. Remember, it's going to be the isms that are going to start playing out in this expanded energy. And so the way to come in around that is through our higher consciousness having released self-sabotage. So it just feels like on November 23rd, when this was originally delivered, and we spent like a moment talking about it, it was for right now. It was once again saying, hey, you're going to need to look at this really soon. So let's bring this in so you have it when you need it.
Absolutely. So one preliminary kind of setup or consensus to understand, and that is that everything in nature and in social structures is self-preserving.
Yes.
So let's look at that just a little deeper.
That's like just the encoded.
Yeah, it's the nature of things.
The basic nature.
So whether you have an institution or a group, that group once formed has an identity.
Exactly.
And it seeks to protect, preserve that identity. And that's normal. That's just the way it is. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been formed yet, right? So once we recognize something as having an identity, it kind of takes a life of its own. It wants to preserve that. So let's just look at that natural flow and apply it to our own ego. That we all have an ego. We were given an ego so we could survive here, right? You need to know not to step in front of the bus.
It's like a density compass, right? Yeah. That's what the ego is. It's really like a density compass.
And your ego includes your personality. That's what you've identified. That's me. I can recognize me because that's how I do things. That's how I respond. Okay, cool. What about growth? What about evolutionary process? The ego's identity you had as a 4-year-old is quite different than 14-year-olds, let alone 24-year-old, etc. You see how we constantly are growing and evolving. Yet every step of the way, it seems like some of the evolution comes with a crisis. Something triggers an expansion of our identity or our, quote, comfort zone.
Yes.
All right. Given that we kind of understand the nature of this, then the moment at hand, when I love the phrase, when faced with the vastness.
Let's get this up in front of you. There it is. Okay, so actually, Sri, let's do this. Let's move. We're going to put this insoulment where Sri and I can both be reading it. It's on my little iPad here, and that way, let's get down into those stages, Sri. Yeah. So in this section of the show, we're going to be going through the first of these 3 very important stages, and then in the second half of the show, we'll be going through the other 2. So again, I hope you got your tea refreshed or whatever you needed, and you have your pen handy. So Sri, read us phase 1.
So let's look at this more deeply.
All right.
When faced with the vastness of your true nature, the energy of the ego will at first be entranced, and then will face a virtually immediate choice point.
Let's just stop there. Let's just unpack that. When faced with the vastness of your true nature, that means oftentimes what is the gift of the yoga of self-ascension? The gift of the yoga of self-ascension is that we are able to literally call in our mastery presence with conscious awareness into this body. This is what many people confuse as taking your body with you. This is actually you infuse the body here, thereby that union transcends with you. And this has been so misunderstood for eons that, I'm going to take my body with you. The body is of this dimension. It only works in this dimension. And so it is, if you want to hold on to the body, then what you're saying is that I'm going to keep my experience in this type of a realm of experience. And that's totally your choice. And then there comes a moment when you are so, and I'm going to use the word impregnated with yourself. And this is not ego. This is that mastery overlay that actually is the antithesis of ego. It is a depth of humility and ego recognition. Being able to see when it's just ego and others and hold around that rather than engage into it. It's that moment where the spine has become that ascended kundalini, which is that ocean or that river of creation. And it is that opportunity in that moment where the ego, I'm even losing my breath sharing it with you, where the ego will freak out so much that the strength and the capacity of the mastery will meet that ego. And at first it will be like magnets. That's the choice point.
Yeah.
That's the choice point.
So anytime the ego is faced with a growth opportunity, it will shake in its boots a little bit.
A lot of it.
And so,
Get over it. It's a lot of it.
And so now let's consider, there's so many people that are saying, the age of Aquarius, the grand expansion is here. And yes, there's great truth in that. And regardless of whatever cosmology you want to overlay, we are at a moment of up level, a moment of opportunity, and that the vibrational opportunity, the consciousness opportunity is all here. And guess what? That vastness is confrontive to the status quo.
And can feel overwhelming to an ego that is still trying to control the ship. The ego will start jumping up and down. And this is why I love this next sentence.
Yeah, so the ego is faced with a choice point to either say yes to the vastness and dive with open eyes and joy into the ocean of creation.
So let's get clear. That means in that moment, the master has come in, met the fear-filled ego and said, honey, I got this. Yeah. Right? You're really claiming that aspect. Or
to say yes to the familiarity and safety, perceived safety, of density. To dive with open eyes and brilliant joy into the ocean of densified experience and simply let go.
With the peace of letting go is important. With the peace of letting go. And the reason this is so important is because how many are sitting on the fence? I strongly suspect some of you are. That's probably why you're here right now. You're sitting on the fence because you're afraid, and that's okay. The fear of the ego is actually what keeps you safe, right? Isn't that the irony? That at the end of the day, it is that perception of safety that is the same thing that's going to hold you back.
So the ego has defined your comfort zone, and when you hit the edges of it, fear shows up. That's how it talks to you.
Yep.
And now, who is it talking to, though?
That's it. Because remember, you're only at this moment because you are at the moment. Whenever we reach a pinnacle in our moment of expansion, whenever we are ready to break free even more, that which was is freaking out and seeking reassurance. And, you're seeing this play out at every level. This is playing out in the world around you, in your own life experience, galactically, universally. This plays out until we make that first choice. And I'm going to read that again. What was the first choice? To say yes. To say yes to the vastness and dive with open eyes and brilliant joy into the ocean of creation. Nice. Now, in order to say yes, it means you have to be what? aware. You've got to know this is happening. And chances are you are either very aware or becoming more aware, or you wouldn't have found this show.
Right.
Because this show is all about, we are connecting with your awareness. And that's a blessing. And we are really, really aware of what an honor it is.
And so as we look out into the world of density, and by density we simply mean mass consciousness, that's
Right.
what's televised, promoted, and seeks to preserve itself. So that last phrase is critical. Here we have this ocean of opportunity and this
Huge.
vast up-level coming in, and the institutions of the status quo and the people who are the benefactors of those institutions may feel threatened without even knowing why. So when this expansionary
Usually
energy,
they don't know why.
yeah, because they're very much focused in that world
Right.
of consensus
Fear,
creation that
density,
they have. So it's have a little mercy. You look at this
Have
and
a
you
lot
go,
of mercy.
You look at it and say, how could it be otherwise?
Right.
You know, the politician in office doesn't want to lose office. The prevailing party doesn't want to lose. The prevailing institutions and the benefactors of the economy don't want to give up their role.
And I want you to just notice everything Sri just said. It's all aligned with the illusion of density. Do you see how deep everything he said is coming with a singular perspective, with a very limited perception. It's all about me. This is 100% density consciousness and spiritual activism. These energies are playing in those two parts of the pyramid of spiritual awakening.
Yes, and you cannot confront it at
Exactly.
the level of its existence.
Einstein.
So let go of the need to try to change other people's minds,
Right.
and to try to confront them, to believe differently and to act differently. Instead, as we come inward, are we able ourselves to accept peace into our foundation? Oh, yes. Now, peace means I trust the universe. I am at peace with life. As we say, I am at peace with life, I am at peace with my nature, I'm at peace with my guidance. What we're talking about is in the energy body is the first chakra. Yeah. And that comes to the next paragraph that was brought through.
Now, I want to just take a moment and breathe, because I think we're going to go into a little break here, and I think we should wait.
Okay.
But what I want to do is bring your hands to your heart right now. And now, having gone through everything we just shared, pretend a moment. Hands to heart, take in a breath, let it out. And I'm going to read just this first paragraph again, because it's its own incredible key, right? Mm-hmm. And when we come back, we're going to go to the next and the other two keys. So just receive, and then we're going to go into our break. And when we come back, we're going to continue this incredible moment through the self-sabotage that is trying to take you away. Hands to heart. Maybe if it's safe to close your eyes, you can do that and lift up. Witness yourself receiving. When faced with the vastness of your true nature, the energy of the ego will at first be entranced, and then will face a virtually immediate choice point. To say yes to the vastness and dive with open eyes and brilliant joy into the ocean of creation. Or to say yes to the safety and familiarity of density. To dive with open eyes and brilliant joy of the ocean of densified experience with the peace of letting go. Conscious awareness is the key. And conscious awareness is where we're going to begin when we come right back.
To the Self-Ascension Classroom, affordable and beautiful home study for your mystical journey. Imagine the gift of studying everything that you've ever wanted at home and on your time. Yes, it is possible, and there is so much to choose from as you dive into your home study experience. Remember that with every moment you spend studying this gift, you ignite your divinity. Imagine the mysteries of the Tohil and the crystalline clarity and radiant abundance of Vesa, a mastery balancing technique and certification process, and then cosmic life regression. Travel the universe and remember. Allow yourself the gift of navigating the inner matrix. This beautiful ascended mastery program of the violet flame will take you to places you may not have dared to dream to go, and then you will rediscover the true gift of your divine nature. Yes, the time is now to study the ancient mysteries, and it's so easy to begin. Discover the Self-Ascension Classroom only at ShriandKira.com. That's ShriandKira.com. Namaste.
And now, here are Shri and Kira.
Welcome back. We're glad to be with you right now.
Yes, we are.
And today we're exploring self-sabotage and unpacking the beautiful divine wisdom that came through in this insoulment from Master Lady Kira Raa. And we have talked about the trembling in your boots a little bit. As the vastness is presented, the ego either goes, wow, that's really cool, or goes, oh no.
But I do want to remind everyone that the one thing that this paragraph pointed us to was either way, you're saying yes. Now, whether you're conscious of the yes or not, that's what we're talking about today. But either way, you're saying yes. And that many fence sitters, we opened up the show talking about that. Many who sit on the fence, the weekend warriors or the occasional spiritualists, or the ones who are like, I'm half committed, but I'm half not. Or one day you love it, one day you're cursing it, whatever. That's painful to keep going back and forth like that. Yeah. And so what they're really saying is dive into density if you need to dive into density with the peace of being there. Rather than fighting where you are, maybe embrace it. Right? I'll give you an example. A beautiful being that I know who has been wanting to get their own home wrote me on Saturday and said, oh my God, I'm under contract. And they happen to live in a market that's so hot that houses are selling in a day, which is blowing my mind. I didn't know there was any market that was that hot. And she got it, and among many offers, and only 5,000 over, which they were celebrating in this market. And then came the email of, and now I'm hoping I can really make this because I have to sell my condo this weekend. and so I noted the fear, and I noted all the other things, and I'm running around the house now, and I got to get everything staged, and blah, blah, blah. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is, okay, the universe has already sent the first sign that things are flowing, right? Your dream just manifested. Your dream house was just put in your lap in a hot market where you had 14 offers on your current home, and it was the 14th home you had tried to buy. And now this was only the second home you were making an offer on, and it came to you. So look what the universe is saying. That's like the olive branch of the universe saying, are you ready to trust me? And
Things are lining up.
Right? Because we're going to be talking about this. There's a very powerful, powerful sentence down here about trusting peace. So when things start lining up, okay, there's the joy of, oh my God, it lined up. And that's what they're talking about, that at first the ego will be entranced. Wow. But then the ego's got to make a choice. So this weekend, this person is packing up their condo. How do you want to pack up that condo to stage it? How about with every box you are packing, there is the joy and excitement that when you open that box again, it will be in your new home. Rather than packing with fear and, oh my God, why not pack in the joy of when I see you again, we're in our new home? How about with everything you are removing, with every wall you might be painting or clearing, you're saying thank you to this house because it got you your next house. And that you will get to be the bearer of a miracle for the one who makes the offer on your home in this market. That there will be many offers and you will feel the energy of the one waiting for their miracle. And that's the difference between conscious awareness and subconscious ego ruling.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to call that in because I think it's a perfect example for what we're talking about here.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind is your life is your spiritual path.
Yeah.
Now, whether you have a philosophy or a theology doesn't matter. You're still doing it. You are living your life. You're learning your lessons. You're cultivating whatever sense of appreciation and growth that you're able to receive.
Right?
And we all do it. And so we can smile and love each other because we're all in the same boat of awakening to the deeper truth of our nature through the experience of our lifetime. And how fast you go and what happens, those are your choices. And so here we are talking about the moment at hand from the cosmic, or the grand energy at hand.
From that ascended perspective.
The energy upon all of us is one of awakening or up-leveling. So now what are you going to up-level? The expansion or the boundaries of density?
The contraction, essentially.
Both are permitted.
And both are okay. That's the key. You can't dive into density and peace if you're still judging yourself for doing it. Yeah. It's about really letting go. Let go of that which is pulling you, which is causing you the greatest amount of self-sabotage. Because at the end of the day, and we have a lot more to share, self-sabotage is about what? It is about doubt and it is about fear.
Yes.
So let's go into
all right,
key number 2.
I want to read this next paragraph and let's bring it into our personal experience.
Yes.
Peace is the moment where we begin, the moment that the first chakra stops seeking any other and calls forward the blessing of being. This is the moment at hand and the moment where it all begins again. So let's pause there for a moment and feel the truth of this. The first chakra, just to bring this into the energy body, is located in your pelvis. And this is your foundation. I mean, this is number one as far as the body of form goes.
Right.
It's your pelvis.
Yes.
And traditionally, the first chakra found peace through a tribe. The sense of belongingness and safety of a cooperative, the tribe.
Outside energy of affirmation.
Yeah. So that's the starting point, and then we evolve from there.
Right.
Okay.
Now, the one thing I want to jump in and say is, in the energy of self-ascension, as we are arising into this greater state of self-awareness, as we are moving through that into our ascended presence, as we are moving through that into the full embodiment of that mastery presence in full consciousness, it all begins here. This is not only an important moment, an important sentence. This is the sentence. Peace is the moment where we begin. Now, again, if go to SriAnnKira.com, right on the homepage, right at the top, click on what is self-ascension. Yeah. And read it. It's all free. Read it, learn it, because it's the transcending of that root chakra from the one that needs safety as its way of being into the one that knows peace as being. That's the moment where it begins, because until that first chakra can absolutely trust you, you will never be in peace. You will always be looking outside of yourself. You will always be seeking other validation, other ways to find even a semblance of peace. Peace comes from knowing, and knowing comes from your steadfast commitment, your focused awareness, and your complete trust. Mm-hmm. You see that T word, that sly T word keeps showing up?
Trust is the energy of divine love.
Yep.
So let's just be there for a second. If I truly trust my divine nature, or I trust spirit to always be available to me, then I can relax a bit when life presents a speed bump.
Right?
But if I don't have any trust in the universe, then all I'm left with is the outer world, which is fickle and precocious and
this is where
whimsy.
dogma, right? But this is where dogma steps in, because dogma comes in with a validating principle that says you cannot trust yourself. You do not know how to access your divine nature. Only we can tell you how to do that, right? That's what dogma says.
Yeah.
Dogma says, I was a Catholic for a fleeting moment, and it was fascinating was that this whole thing of original sin.
Yeah.
This whole thing about you're born flawed. That is what keeps the first chakra in fear. That energy is the energy of fear, and the energy of saying that we as an entire species are flawed inherently. Think of the power that grants those that will tell you they can unlock that for you and then keep you reminded that you're incapable of doing it yourself. It's all to stop you from knowing how incredibly powerful you really are, to knowing exactly what you are, and to unlocking that mastery with the divine compassion that holds you in fifth dimensional presence, thereby being the safety net. So it's just an incredible moment. There's so much here.
So dogma provides structure.
There it is.
Which is a false sense of peace.
Safety.
And creates a sense of safety to the participant in that structure.
But you need it like a fix.
So that structure then says, here's the pathway, and it does not provide space for personal connection to your own guidance. It says, no, this pathway. So we don't need to go there right now, other than to recognize that this foundational energy of peace allows us to expand, whether it's to expand via the dogma or expand via the direct connection of the truth of your mastery.
Right.
And that peace is foundational. How can you have love if you're not at peace? Love then becomes a momentary emotional blip. It's an ice cream moment rather than a state of being.
And then you wind up having a lot of ice cream moments.
And then you have the ice cream crash.
Right. You guys know this.
So the next sentence here in this wonderful insoulment: the moment that the first chakra stops seeking any other and calls forward the blessing of being. So the first chakra truly is about your beingness. To be able to know and trust, I am a divine being.
And the blessing of that. I'm loving that, because what it's really saying is you get that, wait a minute, why am I being a victim-y, whiny, complainy being when, oh my God, I am being. That's the mirror. That's the moment. It's like, whoa, that's when you lift out and you wrap those arms around yourself and you love yourself enough to ignite the compassion. You stay in that fifth dimensional space where your heart really ignites. Forgive them, they know not what they do.
Yes. And so we deal with this dynamic that the ego needs an ism in order to say, okay, I can trust that I'm a divine being because it says so here in this book or this teaching, as opposed to the direct sense of I am.
Mm-hmm.
I may not know the ism, but I have this felt sense of I am.
Well, and I want to reiterate that with the next part of this piece, because boy, is it all tied to that. So as I am, now hear this. Peace is elusive to the ego as the ego thrives on chaos and drama. The addictive nature of the brain that exists within the all is a safety net to the expansion of energy. And that is like a punctuation highlighted. I want to go back again. Peace is elusive to the ego as the ego thrives on chaos and drama. That cannot happen if I am being.
Mm-hmm.
That's really why it's so important to pay attention here.
And so the energetic principle here is you were given an ego to help navigate this world of form, yet you are an expanding being. You are a spiritual energy working through a human experience, a lifetime. Mm-hmm. And every little bit of chaos and drama gives the ego a sense of identity, going, okay, I got an answer to that, or I'll go run and find an answer to that, or I have a script that I can use to respond to that. And so the ego gets a sense of empowerment even through dysfunction, because it confirms its identity as vulnerable, or it confirms its identity as a know-it-all, or whatever identity it has. All of the chaos out there gives the ego a knee-jerk reaction of, I've got it.
Now, I want to take this. Now, look at this, though, that the addictive nature, just the addictive nature in and of itself, which bear in mind is in the all. It's in the all. And oftentimes, those that really call out that addictive nature and come through the other side of it become very universal, have expanded consciousness. It may not have been an easy journey. It might have been horrible. It might have taken your life. It might have brought you back into another life. But the key is that because it is that addictive nature, the chaos and the drama are actually, the more that is heightened, the more that you are entrapped. And that's what they're saying here is that, look, that distraction energy, that heightened polarity, don't you get it? That is the trap. That's happening because you're waking up. And the last fight is going to be for the dominion of your brain and finally the limitation of your consciousness. Yeah. And we're in that end game right now. This isn't coming. This isn't something that we need to think about because it's right now. That's why this was the self-sabotage moment of now.
Yes.
That now as this 2-year up-level period that literally was the moment where we started bringing time into a compression experience. Now we've been through this first year, and what's happened is because the balance is restoring, because the balance is starting to find a greater sense of harmony, but it's not there yet. But because of that, we have been able to move into spiral time. And again, we're going to be talking more about that on other shows. And if you tune in every Sunday to Shri and Kira Live at noon Pacific time, we are talking a lot about that if you want to catch up. And that's over at official Shri and Kira over at YouTube, onenesstalkradio.com, BBS Radio, wherever you want to catch that. And so these spirals that are happening right now are why the addictive nature as the safety net is being so coerced.
Yes.
Everything, you're addicted to your fear. Archangel Zadkiel calls it the pain of the pain of the pain. Actually, more correctly, Archangel Zadkiel refers to it as the habit of the pain of the pain, which I think about all those years ago. Zadkiel was saying this is that addictive nature. Yes. That's what the habit of the pain of the pain is.
And so as we transition into talking more fully about the addictive nature,
which is the third part of this insoulment.
Yeah, I just want to underscore something. Lots of wonderful spiritual practices have at their core the opportunity for you, the practitioner,
to break free,
to experience peace, and to experience an opening. And that the practice helps you bring that into your consciousness, into your energy field. And that's the beauty of spiritual practice, is it provides openings. However, if we don't fully trust the state of being that practice helped us experience, if we don't trust that, then we become addicted to the practice rather than evolving through the fruits of the practice. And so this peace that Kira Raa has brought through, peace is elusive to the ego because the ego thrives on chaos and drama.
It doesn't trust peace. Isn't that the line, right?
Yeah.
It does not even trust peace.
And so now that brings us to the next awareness as we look at the role of addiction.
There it is. This is the third piece of this very powerful keys to moving through that self-sabotage.
Well, so let's read this, what was directly transmitted. Addiction is what returns us to the experience with an ever-evolving refinement of our expansive nature.
Boy, is that loaded.
Through addiction, we awaken. This is why the addiction to our ego, our densified beliefs, is the core addiction for all.
Now, this is really a beautiful, it's almost like a champagne moment because we're at the core addiction. How cool is that? It's like, all right, let's wipe away everything else that's just been, ridiculous to even have there anyway. Let's just get right to the meat of it, right? It's right to the core. So here we are. The core addiction. The core addiction is this addiction to this, addiction
To
to ego,
the
to
outer
drama,
world.
to
Yeah.
chaos, right?
Yeah.
Everything that is a this, right? Everything that is outside of.
Yeah. So some people say, well, wait a minute, I'm not addicted. So let's back up a little bit. We all know people who have had addictions with substances, substance abuse issues. And at the underlying principle of substance abuse is the desire to quell the chaos, the desire to feel immersed or not feel fear anymore, and that those pieces are there. So really what the addict is saying, I want to experience peace.
Always. First chakra, right? What we were just talking about. See how this all comes together?
And so the gateway to that experience of peace is through some outer intervention called a drug, or it could be other kinds of addiction. There's many of them. We can rattle a list, but it doesn't matter. It's about, I want to experience peace. And essentially, it's because I don't trust that I am peace.
And, I want to jump in here and share that this is where I think the plant medicine conversation comes in. Because yesterday here at Tosa Blue Mountain, it was December 12th. And yesterday we were so blessed to have the amazing, beautiful Cañari people here for a very sacred Wachuma process through the entire day. Wachuma is San Pedro. And we're very blessed to have some guests here right now that are honeymooners from Mount Shasta, and they were here as part of this, and our community was here, and many of the Cañari brethren were here with us, and it was an incredible moment. And that is a moment that breaks you free of addiction, because it is the utilization of a sacred medicine to get to the core of your own ego addiction. It's when we break the ego addiction at its core, which is what this core addiction is. We are addicted to our ego, and thereby the ego is addicted to us. It is always the two as one, is it not?
Yeah.
And so the way that plant medicines intercede, and I really believe the reason that some of the higher consciousness is being held around some of the indigenous that are properly and not in the tourist vein or in the hallucinogenic solo experience vein, but have really held the sacred medicine of consciousness. Mm-hmm. And so I want to really bring that up, because those sacred medicines are the ones that have been banned for ridiculous reasons for many, many, many years. And I do just want to step forward and say that I think it is very profound that it was last Friday, in the midst of everything that's happening right now, that in the United States, you had the entire House of Representatives approve the legalization of marijuana. I mean, this is massive, what's coming in. Yeah. And so I just want to share that, because that's actually a moment of balance. That's part of saying
the
that,
scales are tipping.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it is the energy of that which would seek to keep you trapped, that would utilize and take the addiction energy to get you to thereby shun that which could actually break you free of the ultimate core addiction. So I really want to just inject that conversation. We're going to be expanding that conversation a lot in
That's
January.
a whole other conversation.
That's January.
Really starts back with Timothy Leary and all of that. It's important
and
to
we're old enough to remember.
Yeah.
And I've been there.
One of the things I just, to kind of package that up for the moment is to recognize that at every level of our being where there is an illness, meaning I'm out of balance, there is in nature a medicine which will help restore the balance.
That's the balance of Mother Gaia. Everything we need, she gives us. We do not need any form of synthesis or plasticization.
Exactly. So if consciousness is ill and needs to be healed, there is a medicine for that. However, it's important that we are mindful and recognize that a guide, a person of attainment, can properly administer and guide you, versus the recreational use, which then forms a more classic, or the foundation of many classic addictions, meaning I choose to escape the challenge before me by using whatever, versus I choose to use whatever as a tool to expand in a greater state of beingness.
And you can become addicted to it. You can become addicted to that. We've met many people, especially living here at Tosa Blue Mountain in Ecuador. We've met many people who come that have, really overindulged in Wachuma, that have always done it so ceremonialized and so stylized that it was never about really getting through a core issue. And this is an important thing to really call into ourselves is, can we break the addiction of what we believe it should be? because that goes so far beyond everything. And, you know, again, I love this, that it's just so important here. I want to read right here where it says, this is the big bold sentence. You want to read it, Sri?
Self-sabotage is the energy that does not trust peace.
Period. It's like that's the big wrapper on this pyramid of what we've been shown in the self-sabotage model today. But it's the big wrapper is that. It's back to the big T word.
Yeah, let me continue. The next sentence helps. Self-sabotage is the energy that does not trust peace. It is the energy that has been so wounded, so hurt, so abused, so scared, so frightened, so beyond afraid that it is stronger than the yes to true peace.
I lost my breath as you said that.
Yeah.
Like, I really need a minute here.
And as we look at, with love and compassion, so many beings have been so wounded, so traumatized, so anchored in the identity of the wound that they cannot trust peace.
Just breathe that in. Because what that's really saying is that I'm willing to look at myself at that level. This is what, you know, for 19 years, Sri and I have been out there talking about naked authenticity. And this is what naked authenticity is. It's that moment where you are naked with yourself and able to love yourself enough to know that no matter what comes up, it deserves its voice. Let the pain come in. Let the grief come in. Let anything that you need to come in, knowing you've got this. Let it be experienced and then let it release. Yeah. Don't force it. Don't fake it. You might dive into it for days. Yet when that higher self is there, then that period of days becomes the retreat of recognition, an opportunity to say yes to you, take more baths, walk in nature, listen to beautiful, uplifting music. Give yourself the gift of saying yes to you. Do something fun for you, just because you can.
Absolutely. Because ultimately doing something fun for you and celebrating your own gifts and your creative ability, etc., is a way we love ourselves.
And I do want to remind you all, some of you probably already know this, but a way to love yourself more is if your bedding is older, if it's faded, if it's not wonderful, invest in a really good set of sheets and pillowcases. And if you're not sure what color, start with pure white, and then you'll have more unveil itself. This is a time where it's important to be nourished at all times, because the self-sabotage energy will always play a pity party and jump into that victim consciousness, which is the addiction to density, which keeps you addicted to self-sabotage.
And so, one of the things to take home here is that, remember at the beginning we talked about whatever exists, however dysfunctional it is, it seeks to self-preserve.
Because it's familiar.
And so in the nature of that, when we can shift our environment a little bit, when we can freshen our sheets, buy a new pillow, we're saying, I choose to relax into a fresh energy, a new energy, an open to the possibilities of my life, rather than when I go into my sleep time, I'm getting reflected back with the old energy of what I sloughed off yesterday.
And this brings us to that first chakra again, because the first chakra is all about deservability and safety. And so how about buying those sheets, giving yourself that gift of nourishment, and then trying on this one? I deserve because I was born.
Let's just pause here as we come to a close for today. Let's pause with the practice.
Let's do that.
Hand on heart, breathing in until you begin to feel that relaxation expand. The gateway to peace. And to say out loud, I deserve because I was born.
I deserve because I was born.
To breathe and to say, I am. I am, and I deserve, because I'm here, because I was born. I deserve. And let that energy flow into your tissues for a moment. Let that truth re-script the channels of energy, the congestions, the habits that your body is carrying. I deserve, because I was born. And to breathe, and to let a smile come to your face, and to know that you are a divine being.
Yes.
a divine being, enjoying your human experience.
Together, we are better.
Yes.
And you are ready.
So, beloved ones, as we come to a close for today, I invite you to bring that hand to your heart frequently, to take deep conscious breaths, and to affirm the deeper level of truth that you know is so essential. I am. I am peace. I deserve because I was born. And we look forward to being with you again next week.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you for joining us at Shri and Kira Live. To have your questions answered, send us an email to guest@shriandkiraradio.com and check out more information at shriandkira.com. See you next week. Namaste.